Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one.
The introduction. It was a late autumn evening in October 2015, when the sun dipped behind the jagged skyline of Millfield, leaving a chill in the air that whispered of colder days to come. The streets were quiet, wrapped in a shroud of fog that clung to the ground, like secrets yearning to be told. Shadows lengthened under the glow of flickering street lamps, illuminating the tired faces of old brick buildings, remnants of a once bustling industrial town, now grappling with its own forgotten stories. Detective Sarah Mitchell parked her car outside the desolate Millfield Memorial Park, an unassuming green space that had seen better days. The rusting swings creaked as the wind nudged them, and the faint sound of falling leaves echoed the lore of lives intertwined within these city limits. Sarah stepped out, her breath crystallizing in the cool air, as her partner, Detective Tom Hayes, joined her. They were both seasoned investigators, their eyes having seen too much. Yet the heartache of unresolved cases still weighed heavily on their consciences. Tonight was different. They were summoned to the park, a scene of horror and disbelief that would draw them into a labyrinth of deception and complex human emotions. The body of a young woman had been discovered, concealed beneath a pile of autumn leaves, as if nature herself was attempting to shield the world from the grim truth hidden just beneath the surface. The rustling of the officers' feet on the pavement brought Sarah back to the present. They approached the makeshift crime scene, the bright yellow tape marking the boundaries of sorrow. Little did they know, this case was just the beginning doorway to the dark tapestry of Millfield, where the past and present would collide in unexpected ways. The victim. The moon cast an eerie glow over Millfield Memorial Park, illuminating the small crowd of investigators and onlookers who peered hesitantly into the void of the crime scene. As Sarah and Tom edged closer, they were met with the somber sight that would be etched in their memories. A young woman, somewhere in her early 20s, lay still beneath the leaves. Her hair, a cascade of chestnut curls, framed a face that, though pale, still held an air of youthful vibrancy, a stark contrast to the harsh reality of her surroundings. Her name is Emily Sinclair. An officer spoke softly, glancing at her ID, which had been found tucked in her jeans pocket. The tragic revelations of her identity echoed in the chill of the evening air. A college student at Millfield University, Emily had dreams and aspirations, ambitions captured in the pages of her diary, a sanctuary, now never to be opened again. As the coroner arrived to begin their work, Sarah's gaze roamed over the scene, noting the discarded coffee cup nearby her, last outing perhaps with the fading logo of the local cafe. A tattered scarf lay draped over the edge of a nearby bench, hinting at a moment of warmth long since abandoned. He wasn't just a case. It was a life cut short, leaving ripples that would affect more than just her She thought of what had brought Emily to the park that fateful night. Had she been meeting someone? Seeking solace in familiar surroundings? As the crime scene technicians began to gather evidence, the shadows hunched closer, each whisper in the wind a story begging for discovery. The victim's narrative would soon emerge from the depths, revealing cracks in both her life and the community that surrounded her. Sarah's heart sank. She knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. But for Emily Sinclair and the answers left unanswered, they would delve deeper into Millfield. Each twist and turn would shatter the facade of normalcy and reveal the darkness that lay beneath, hidden in plain sight. The crime scene. The soft crackling of leaves beneath their feet punctuated the otherwise unnatural silence that enveloped the park as Sarah and Tom surveyed the area. They exchanged glances, each awakening to an unspoken understanding that this was a pivotal moment and entry point into something far more complex than either had anticipated. Around Emily's body, the crime scene took shape, a disarray of nature intertwined with human evidence. Sarah crouched low, studying the ground where she had been found. The leaves shimmered with dew, glistening under the moonlight, but it was the disturbed earth that caught her attention, a small patch where fresh soil diverged from the otherwise immaculate surround. It suggested desperation, a struggle, or perhaps an attempt to hide something. Tom scrutinized the area, peering into the darkness beyond the park's fringe. "This place isn't far from the college," he noted, a hint of concern lacing his voice. "Did she come here alone? Could someone have been following her?" As thoughts raced through Sarah's mind, she noted the absence of personal belongings around the body. No purse, no phone, just the coffee cup and the scar deliberately or carelessly left behind. They hinted at a narrative steeped in finality. The forensic team moved methodically, collecting samples, photographs, and fiber evidence. As they worked, the shadows and light began to weave a story ever so slightly that would soon unfold like reluctant petals in the cool night air. Nearby, the creaking swings swayed gently, their rhythmic movements a haunting reminder of the innocence that once thrived in a life disrupted by an unseen force. The surreal sense of unease deepened, pressing upon Sarah like a heavy foe. She stood, scanning the horizon of soft grass and familiar trees. Something didn't fit. The normalcy of the surroundings clashed with the horror unfolding within them. This park, a space meant for solace and laughter, had become a stage for tragedy. Turning to Tom, Sarah's resolve mounted. "We need to find out who she was with last," she stated firmly, a fire igniting in her gut. As they prepared to leave the scene, she could feel the weight of Emily's life resting upon his shoulders, a silent promise taking root. There were answers hidden in the shadows, and they would uncover them, no matter the cost. Eerily investigation. Hours later, illuminated by the harsh fluorescent lights of the Millfield Police Department, Sarah sifted through the growing pile of information about Emily Sinclair. The hum of conversations and the rapid clicks of keyboards created a backdrop of urgency as the detectives worked together. Their resolve palpable in the air. Sarah found herself scrolling through a digital file containing Emily's profile, her academic records, recent photos, and a resume that detailed ambitions far beyond her years. "We need to speak with your professors," Tom suggested, leaning over Sarah's shoulder, his brow furrowed in contemplation. "Her last classes might give us a glimpse of her state of mind." Nodding, Sarah jotted down the names of relevant faculty members from Emily's department, determined to trace the threads of her daily life. They would begin with those who knew her best, hoping to uncover any conflicts, friendships, or tensions that might reveal the shadowy outlines of motive behind her untimely death. As they prepared to head out, the desk sergeant approached with a handful of papers. "This just came in. Emily had a couple of days' worth of missed classes," he informed them. Disappointment etched across his face. Seems her absence wasn't unusual. Some classmates thought she was struggling. Not good news. Sarah felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Struggling with what? She mused aloud. Was it academic? Or something more personal? The idea that Emily was battling her demons alone unaware of the presence of danger lurking in her life, sent chills racing down her spine. Their first stop was the student center at Millfield University, bustling with youthful energy amid the somber cloud now hovering over the campus. Sarah felt the unusual dichotomy between joy and grief as students chatted energetically, their laughter echoing off the walls, oblivious to the tragedy that had punctured their community. As they approached the information desk, Sarah flashed her badge, introducing herself. "We need to speak with anyone who knew Emily Sinclair. Her friends, classmates maybe, someone might know what was going on with her." Within moments, the gravity of their mission drew a small crowd, a gathering of sullen faces, eyes reflecting uncertainty. As each student began to share what they knew, a web of connections started to emerge. Emily was more than a namit, was a life woven into the fabric of the university. One where friendships and rivalries tangled together like threads of a troubled tapestry, hinting that the story was just beginning. The dead ends. Days turned into a swirling mix of sleepless nights. Investigative meetings as Sarah and Tom sought leads in the life of Emily Sinclair. They pored over interviews with classmates, feeling the weight of each promise she had made to pursue her dreams, only to meet a tragic end. Yet, with every conversation, it felt as though they were running in place, each lead dwindling into another dead end. One afternoon, they met with Jenna, Emily's roommate, in a small, quiet cafe that buzzed with the chatter of students trying to escape the strain of assignments. Jenna clutched a mug of steaming coffee, her fingers trembling slightly as she recounted Emily's recent struggles. She was going through a rough patch. Jenna confessed, her eyes glistening. She mentioned something about feeling overwhelmed, like she was drowning. No one took it seriously. We thought it was just school stress. Sarah leaned in, her pen scribbling furiously. Did she mention anyone specific? A situation? Something that might have frightened or worried her? Jenna shook her head, frustration mingling with sadness. Not really. Just life, you know. Trying to fit in, keep up with everything. Another potential lead. But it went cold as quickly as it had formed, leaving Sarah feeling increasingly defeated. They followed up with other leads from professors who spoke of Emily's hard work, to friends who shared that she had distanced herself of late. Each interview unearthed more questions than answers. A few students offered tearful condolences, but none could pinpoint any trouble, any conflict, anything dark lurking in the shadows of her life. Then there was the erratic chatter involving a mysterious boyfriend, a fleeting name tossed around in the aftermath of her death. Anyone could have been a boyfriend, you know. One classmate murmured dismissively, shrugging off the suggestion. She dated a few people, nothing serious. That led Sarah to dig into Emily's social media accounts. But they provided little comfort. Pictures filled with smiles and laughter only seemed to mask a deeper turmoil. Her last posts showed an abrupt halt in activity, suggesting she was withdrawing from her circle. Each path ventured led to a brick wall, frustration coiling tighter around their resolve. As the days dragged on, whispers of Emily's life grew fainter, and they found themselves struggling against an increasing sense of futility. The case, once vibrant with possibility, now lay shrouded in ambiguity like a fading photograph, losing its clarity. As they drove back to the station one evening, the air was thick with disappointment. Sarah gazed out the window, watching the world blur past, her thoughts echoing Emily's. "We're missing something," she whispered. more to herself than anyone else. There's got to be a piece that connects everything. The haunting feeling of being on the precipice of insight urged her on even when trapped in a labyrinth of unanswered questions. A break in the case. In the weeks that followed, the investigation grew colder, sending Sarah and Tom deeper into the archives of Emily's life. Each day melded into the next, frustration mounting as the air around the case grew stale. One evening, as Sarah tucked away files and prepared to leave, the message blinked to life on her computer screen, a simple note from a college intern named Kelly. "Detectives, I found something you might want to see. It's about Emily. Call me." A flicker of hope pulsed through Sarah's veins. She quickly dialed the number, heart racing as Kelly's breathy voice came through the line. "I was going through Emily's old emails and social media activity for a project," she began, excitement bubbling beneath her words. You need to know about a conversation she had with a guy named Jake just before she disappeared. "Jake," Sarah pressed, her pen poised over paper. "Yeah, like they dated for a bit over the summer, but then it ended weirdly. Last few weeks, he seemed to be worried about him being around again. There are messages that hint at something darker, like she felt threatened." Sarah felt adrenaline surge. This was the potential break they needed. "Can you send me the messages?" "Definitely. I'll forward everything right now," Kelly assured her. Minutes later, a series of emails and message transcripts filled Sarah's inbox, revealing a narrative that took a sharp turn. Emily's words echoed with uncertainty, a slow descent from casual conversation to alarming concern. References to Jake's jealousy and controlling behavior surfaced, painting a portrait of a relationship that had turned sinister. "Tom, we need to find this guy," Sarah said, urgency flooding her voice. "He may be our missing link." There was a tension in the atmosphere, a sense of unraveling that buzzed around them like electricity. With newfound determination, Sarah and Tom pulled together what scant information they could find on Jake Harper, college dropout with a few run-ins with the law. He appeared to be a ghost, hiding in the fringes of Millfield. Their initial canvassing led them to local bars and hangouts, but every lead turned vague as patrons claimed not to know him or abruptly changed the subject. Then one tip led them to a dingy diner on the outskirts of town, a place known for being a refuge for those seeking cover from society. Sarah and Tom stepped inside. The scent of grease and stale coffee mingling with the muted hum of low conversation. They scanned the tables, eyes searching for any sign of Jake. It was then they spotted a man hunched over a piece of paper, his cap pulled low. The world around him faded, but his tension was palpable, as if he sensed their eyes on him. Unbeknownst to him, he was talking about more than the weather. With every word he uttered to the waitress, he unwittingly laid threads that would lead to Emily's truth. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as they approached this time. They would not let another chance slip into the shadows. The suspect. The moment was electric, the air thick with anticipation. Sarah's gaze locked onto the man in the diner booth, his head still bowed over the crumpled paper. There was an instinctive recognition of the unpredictable energy swirling around him like a predator lingering near its prey, waiting for just the right moment to strike. "Jake Harper!" Tom approached first, the command in his voice resonating like a low thunder. The man looked up sharply, surprise flashing across his face before it morphed into a defensive scowl. "What's this about?" Jake's voice edged with irritation, laced with something darker beneath. Sarah stepped beside Tom, her badge prominently displayed, feeling her muscles tighten in readiness for whatever might follow. "Detective Sarah Mitchell, Detective Tom Hayes, we needed to ask you a few questions about Emily Sinclair," Sarah interjected, watching him closely. His reaction was telling, an imperceptible shift in posture as if the weight of the world suddenly bore down on him. "Emily? I don't know anything about that," he muttered, feigning nonchalance. But for Sarah, it wasn't just about his words. It was about the flintiness in his eyes and the way they darted around the room, seeking an escape and ensuring the diner was still oblivious to their presence. "Really?" Tom pressed, his voice steady but insistent. "Reports indicate that you two were seeing each other earlier this year. Seems odd you wouldn't know how she ended up dead in the park." Jake's facade cracked for a second, showing raw irritation as he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. That's not my fault. We were done. I didn't even see her afterward," he spat. But the tone lacked sincerity, fumbling around like a half-hearted defense. "No. Because from what we've seen, Emily was worried about you," Sarah challenged, not backing down. "Tension had built between you. Did you think you could just walk away without consequences?" The silence stretched between them, thick and tense, as Jake's eyes flicked nervously to the door, and then back again, weighing the options of either running or staying put. Each second felt like an eternity. "I didn't hurt her," he muttered. But it was a plea laced with desperation rather than conviction, revealing a vulnerability that hinted at something darker swirling beneath. "I didn't know she was in trouble. There are ways of communicating, Jake," Sarah countered sharply. "And you seem more scared than sad." Her instincts flared as she noticed the fake tremor in his hands, the way his leg bounced beneath the table, typical signs of someone wrestling with hidden truths. "Listen." Jake's voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't want to lose her, but she didn't get it. I tried to let her go, but I never wanted her dead. "Then help us avoid that," Tom urged, his intent clear. The truth could save him, but it could also entrap him. "Tell us what happened." As the diner hummed melodically around them, sense of gravity in their small corner grew heavy. Jake met their gazes, the masked bravado fading as the reality of the situation sank in. An ember of fear sparkled in his eyes, a flicker indicating he knew too much, and the depths of his uncertainty. A current of desperation began to leak, a confused boy on the verge of a revelation. The trial. The courtroom was packed rows of somber faces, some familiar, others strangers, drawn together by the tragedy that had unfolded in Millfield Memorial Park. Sarah sat alongside Tom, the weight of every moment pressing down upon her like a tide that would not ebb. In the center of the room, the air quivered with tension as Jake Harper, now the accused, faced the judge with a stoic mask that cracked only occasionally, revealing the boyish confusion and fear boiling just beneath the surface. The prosecutor began her opening statement with precision, painting a vivid picture of Emily Sinclair, her laughter, her aspirations, her untimely death. Each word gripped with the essence of a life tragically extinguished, invoking bittersweet memories and the sadness of unfulfilled dreams. This trial, she declared, is not just about a crime. It is about justice for a young woman who walked into the shadows and never returned. Sarah's heart raced as she watched the jury's reactions, their eyes flickering with empathy as they absorbed the gravity of the case. They were tasked not just with deciding guilt, but with comprehending the depths of human nature, the fragility of life, and the darkness that can lurk even in seemingly benign relationships. As the evidence was presented, whispers wafted through the courtroom. Messages exchanged between Emily and Jake were read aloud, revealing his escalating jealousy and possessiveness. And I just can't let you go, Emily. It's you and me. Always. Echoed the voice of the prosecutor, the chilling tone illuminating yet another layer of a toxic relationship. Tom sat with his jaw clenched, his thoughts racing back to the interviews, the diner's atmosphere, and the unease that had settled into their bones as Jake spoke. He could feel his muscles tense, as if they were paralleling both Jake's and Emily's emotions during their fractured connection. In stark contrast, Jake's defense attorney maintained a calm demeanor, her strategy sharp and analytical. She leaned into the argument of circumstantial evidence, framing Jake not as a villain, but as a flawed young man, threatening to collapse under the weight of heartbreak. As the trial progressed, emotional testimonies from Emily's friends and family surfaced, their collective mourning tinged with disbelief. Sarah watched closely, feeling their pain, a shared sorrow intertwining with her own efforts to uncover the truth. Each witness revealed another fragment of Emily's life, a piece that painted a fuller picture of the intelligent, caring young woman whose dreams were snuffed out. But then, as the defense began its cross-examination, Jake's demeanor shifted. His stories grew inconsistent. "I didn't mean to frighten her," he protested, now appearing more haunted, a reflection of his unraveling facade. Under scrutiny, reality began to bend. His once defensive posture cracked, revealing threads of guilt. Finally, in a pivotal moment, the prosecutor presented a hidden audio recording, a chilling confrontation between Jake and Emily preserved on her phone. Just hours before her death, Emily's voice trembled as she asserted her right to leave, her repeated pleas for space echoing through the courtroom like a bell tolling for the lost. The weight of the evidence slowly shifted the atmosphere, the jury's expression softening with understanding at the terror that haunted Emily in her final moments. The trial culminated in a charged silence as jurors deliberated. Sarah held her breath, the hope that justice would be served competing with the fear that it wouldn't. Ultimately, the verdict rang out, echoing like a clarion call, guilty as charged. Relief washed over the room as sorrow mingled with a fragile sense of closure. As Jake was led away in handcuffs, the courtroom's cacophony fell into a heavy silence. For Emily, there was no going back, only a faint glimmer of justice, a solemn reminder that while his story had reached its tragic conclusion, the ripples she left behind would endure in the hearts of those she had touched. Sarah breathed deeply, a knot releasing in her chest. They had fought for Emily, and today, at least, she felt they had honored her memory. The aftermath. The season turned quietly. And with each passing day, leaves fell from the trees in Millfield, creating a mosaic of vibrant colors that would soon give way to the bare chill of winter. Yet beneath the beauty of the changing landscape, a ripple of unease lingered, an undercurrent rooted in the wake of Emily Sinclair's tragic death. Sarah found herself walking the same paths she often had, yet now every step felt heavy with consequence. The town was still grappling with the echo of the trial, with whispers of Emily's story etched in the conversations of local residents. The case had been a defining moment for Millfield, both a grim reminder of the darkness that could fester and a rallying cry for change. With newfound determination, Sarah had spearheaded community forums focused on awareness around healthy relationships and the signs of abuse. The sorrow that enveloped Emily's family and friends pushed them to speak out, transforming their grief into a catalyst for change. But despite all efforts, Sarah felt a void. The justice served didn't erase the pain, it merely transformed it. She often recalled the moments spent at the park, now seemingly tainted by memories of loss. The swings that had faintly creaked now echoed with laughter, replaced by an unsettling quiet. On the first anniversary of Emily's death, a memorial service was held at the university. Friends and family gathered together, and Sarah found herself standing in the back, hidden among the crowd. The atmosphere was thick with mourning, a tapestry woven from threads of sadness and solidarity. As candles flickered before them, stories of Emily's life intertwined with messages of hope, each word a struggle against the darkness that threatened to overshadow everything. As she listened, Sarah felt the former investigator within her waver. She'd seen the worst of humanity unfold, yet here was a testament to the strength of community. She looked around at the faces illuminated by candlelight, many familiar from the trial and investigations, each carrying their own pieces of resilience. Each of us is a keeper of Emily's spirit. The speaker's voice rang strong, and Sarah felt a swell of emotion rise within her. Let us honor her by choosing to love openly and to nurture one another, to ensure no one else has to fight alone. We are the guardians of her legacy. The crowd erupted in applause, but Sarah noticed one young woman in the front row, tears streaming down her cheeks. Emily's younger sister had faced considerable darkness since her sister's murder, a blight that had seeped through the cracks of her family. In that moment, as Emily's sister turned to face the audience, determination flickered in her eyes, a silent promise to honor Emily's life rather than be consumed by grief. Sarah approached her afterward, comfort spilling from her heart as they spoke. And together they began to weave plans to advocate for victims of domestic violence, launching support groups that would offer refuge for those caught in similar struggles. The connection marked the beginning of a journey directed toward healing, both for Emily's family and for those in the broader community. Months later, the whisper of Emily's name sparked stories of survival and memories of her spirit, a gentler force amidst the trauma. There was strength in vulnerability, a lesson rooted in every candle lit. And as Sarah stepped again into the park where it had all begun, she felt a new sense of purpose unfurl within her, an unwavering commitment to stand vigilant against the darkness, not just for Emily, but for everyone who had ever felt lost in the shadows. The cycle of tragedy could indeed give way to resilience. Reflection. As the year turned toward its end, Sarah often found herself reflecting on her journey. The murder of Emily Sinclair had been an eye-opening experience that stripped away any lingering illusions about the world. It had deepened her understanding of human nature, the complexities that lay within each person, and the shadows that could spiral out of control before anyone took notice. In quiet moments, she still replayed the investigation in her mind, running through each conversation, each clue, searching for the moments that may have slipped past her grasp. The reality was stark. Emily's life had been entwined with so many threads, and yet those threads felt thin, frayed at the edges and vulnerable to breakage under the pressures of fear and control. Sarah recognized how close they had come to missing key signals within their pursuit of justice. It became clear to her that change was not simply a product of law and order, but rather a call to action from the community, an awakening that compelled individuals to use their voices, to foster compassion, and cultivate support for those in need.